Hi everybody, welcome back to the next episode in my updated for 2024 absolute beginner's guide to DayZ console community server modding, although of course almost everything I talk about applies to PC console modding as well. So in this one I just wanted to go through some of the server files to give you a brief outline of which are the important ones and kind of what they do. Just so you're kind of aware of some of these names as we go along. But before we start, just want to remind you that in the description below this video you'll find a link to this playlist, which is all of these updated videos, so you can select the ones you want to watch, and also there'll be a previous and a next link. I've tried to record these in somewhat of a logical order, so that if you're totally new to this and you've rented a server from Nitrado and you're working your way through, these are in the order that you would probably do it in, because that's what I'm doing. I'm modding a new server as I make these videos, or even if you're an existing modder and you just want a refresh. Okay, so let's dive straight in. So you head over to Nitrado, because we can do this together. Click on the web interface and we can go here, and what we can do here is we can go over and we can go to the file browser. Now when you go to the file browser, if you're on PC, you'll see a number of different things. You'll be in the home, but anyway, you see some extra files, but what we're interested in is the missions files in here. So if it's an Xbox server, it'll say XB missions, PlayStation, PS missions. If it's a PC server, it'll just say missions. So we go in here, and then we have, it'll say DayZ offline.churners plus for a churner server, Enoch for a Livonia server, and when the new map comes out, it'll say something else, but I don't know what that'll be yet. So let's go in here. So here we go. So let's go full screen. So this is, let's call this the root directory of the mission. So the mission is the, let's call it? Let's say it's the ingredients for your server. So there's a program called, let's say it's called DayZ Server.exe that we don't get to see when we have a Nitrado server. That's running the server. That's the engine. That's the kitchen. That's going to serve up the version of DayZ that you want to serve up to your survivors, to your players. The mission file, this is the ingredients that flavors that version of DayZ to how you want it. This is the salt and pepper. This is the umami. Maybe this is the spices that make your server a little bit harder to survive on, or maybe it's a little bit bland, so it's easier to survive on for new players and that sort of thing. So, as we scroll down, what have we got? So we've got things like, I just want to pick up the really important ones. So CFG event spawns.xml. This is one you'll probably come across on. So what this one has in, this is where events spawn. So things like where helicopter crashes are, and where things like trains spawn in when they crash. In fact, what you could do, let's do something interesting. Let's open up iSurvive and let's go into CFG event spawns. Let's take a look. So here we go. So we've started off. So the event that spawns in the vehicle civilian sedan, as you can see, you've got coordinates. You can scroll through more vehicles, hatchback. Scroll down a bit further, get something interesting. Santa's static Santa's crash. That's for the Christmas event. The Christmas tree, that's for Christmas event. Bonfire, that's for the Walpurgis event, which is kind of Eastern European Halloween. Static contaminated area. Now they call this a static event, but this is actually the dynamic artillery strikes, where they can spawn in. Off-road hatchbacks, the police cars, and just keep going. Planks, where they spawn in, they're an event as well. Trucks. Here, static airplane crates, they're up at the field. Static trains, military convoys, police situations. Did I miss heli? There, Control F. Heli. Control F. Oh, I couldn't spell right, can I? Heli. Static heli crash. There we go. So let's take one of these. So let's take the X and the Z. Remember, Y is up and down, so that's altitude. So for lots of these events, we don't have that. So let's copy that. Let's go over to iSurvive. We can paste it into here. And we can go to those coordinates and dunk. There we go. So that's where a heli crash would be. I mean, of course, in iSurvive you can scroll down, and I'm pretty sure you can choose to have helicopter crashes. There we go. There we go. So there it is. So you can see helicopter crash. So it's quite interesting. You can find things like that. You could add more places for helicopter crashes simply by taking a coordinate from iSurvive and then just copying and pasting in one of those, and just copy and pasting in, and then there will be a chance of a helicopter crashing there. Not definitely, because remember, with all of these events, although there may be, you know, I don't know, 50 different coordinates, there's only going to be 3 helicopter crashes that happen, so it will happen randomly. So that's an interesting file to look at. What else have we got? CFG player spawn points, that controls where players spawn in. Spawnable types, that's very important. There'll be a video about that I'm going to do soon, and so that controls what items, what attachments items spawn in with. So the easy example is a gun. So does a gun spawn in with magazines and a scope? Or the vehicles, so does a vehicle spawn in with wheels and a radiator? Or what is the chance that it will? Weather, that controls the weather. Some of these you can't actually, some of these you can't edit. When we do want to edit them, we actually have to download them as well. Map group POS, map group proto, that's to do with which buildings have what loot in them and where it goes. And did we look at CFG gameplay.json? CFG gameplay.json is very, very important. Just make sure you have it activated in the general settings at the beginning. We control all sorts of things with that. Then we go into the custom folder. So the custom folder, this could well be empty, depending if you've done the tutorial I did about custom loadouts. And on console DayZ, whenever we have a file that is different in terms of its name to a vanilla file that would be on the server, so it's not a file we're just editing and then uploading and saving it at the same name, but one that's actually a different file, so it's a different name, they all have to go into the custom directory. If they don't go into the custom directory, the server will not read them. I think this is a security thing for consoles, so they have to go in there. On PC you don't have to do this, but I recommend you do, because if you follow any of my tutorials, I always do that. Also, it helps to keep all these different files in one place so you can keep a track on them. Then we have the DB directory, and this has got some of the most important files in. So we've got events, so this is how many helicopter crashes spawn in, how many zombies spawn in, how many times zombies spawn in, not necessarily how many, that's controlled by something, but the different hordes that will spawn in different towns. Even things like mushrooms and fruit and stuff like that. Globals.xml, so this controls things like the maximum number of zombies, your login time, your logout time, how long does it take for a dead player to disappear, that kind of thing. Message.xml, so this controls the restarts of your server. Again, one of the first videos I did in this series was about that. Types.xml, arguably the most important file on your server. If you're interested in changing the amount of loot that spawns in, you can have more loot, you can have less loot. Again, I've done a video about that already. Then if we go down to env, this is another interesting folder. So this is where we have the territories for the different animals and zombies. So where do the bears spawn in? So let's just have a look at the bears. Now remember, there's only 2 bears I think ever spawn in on a vanilla server, and the game will kind of choose one from these kind of sections of different sets of coordinates. So that can be quite interesting to look at. You can see that. And then you've got hens, pigs, red deer, and all that sort of stuff. Only mess around with these files if you know what you're doing. There's plenty of tutorials out there, from me and from loads of other people that show you how to mess around with these. If you go in and just start changing numbers and coordinates without knowing what you're doing, there's always a chance that you make a mistake. And remember what we always say in these videos, make sure you use your XML validator or your JSON validator to check things as you go along as well. So there we go. So as you can see, there's not actually that many really, really important files. In fact, I tell you what, let's take a quick look at my GitHub repository. This gives you a good idea. So I produce these custom boosted loot files for everybody. They're available for free from my GitHub repository. And although we're on 1.24 now, in a couple of weeks we're updating to 1.25. And so I make these available. I'll put a link to my GitHub repository in the description below this video. I won't link to the individual sets of files, because by the time you watch this video we might be on DayZ 1.26 or 1.27. And in order to produce a boosted loot server experience that includes things like more loot, so more food, more weapons, weapons with guns, weapons with scopes, weapons with silencers, weapons with ammo, pristine weapons, vehicles that are complete, vehicles that have stuff in the back, more GPSs, more NBC, more food, more drink, all that sort of stuff, trucks full of building gear. So a transformed DayZ experience, which is really good to learn DayZ. And if you haven't got much time for DayZ, so you don't want to have to be hunting around for a pair of shoes for an hour, you would just want to be able to jump in, find a car, start building a base, that sort of stuff. The files that I change for this are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 7. So types.xml, that does the loot. Message.xml, that just does a server restart. Globals.xml, that controls whether things spawn in pristine. Events, I increase the number of events of things like cars and trucks. Spawnable types, so that's what things spawn in with, so that guns with mags thing. CFG gameplay.json, that is build anywhere. I use that, and also to make it so that people can look at the map and see where they are if they've got a map. And CFG event spawns, which is, I can't remember why I do that one. Why do I edit CFG event spawns? There must be a reason for it. Top of my head, can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. But if you want to have that experience, you can use these preset, free to download and very, very easy to use. You just upload these over the top of the existing files on your server and restart your server, and those changes will start to take in effect. So you can see you can totally transform the gameplay experience you have on your server just with those several files. So that's how powerful they are. Anyway, that's enough from me. Hopefully you've found this video interesting and helpful. If you have, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And of course, I'll see you again soon.